Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Gregory Mack, and this is my channel. I just wanted to change things up a little bit today. I'm out in a nice nature area. I thought I'd take you guys along for a bit of a nature walk and talk where we'll discuss how the Goldwing project has been going. It'll probably be a little bit of a long-winded ramble, but for those of you that are interested, I'm going to try and discuss a lot of the psychological aspects of, where my mind goes when I'm working on a project. So, without further ado, here we go. Oh, it's just beautiful out here today. Stunning, stunning, stunning river beside me. I'm so lucky and blessed to be in a place like this. Okay. This is just really, really nice. It's good to get out and do things like this and just take a break. So, one of the biggest challenges that I've had with this project has been the environment. And I made the decision to work on this bike and start this project in the location that I did, where I was exposed to many elements. And it did create significant challenges. There's many days where the time that I had to do it was in the sun, and I would have to deal with a lot of hot sun beating down on me. And I do a little bit here and a little bit there, and take breaks when it got really hot. And there's times when it was really, really cold and really, really windy, and times when I just couldn't do anything at all. And also times when where I live, it seems like the weather about 80% of the time is bad. And it can be a real frustration, a real problem to constantly be fighting the weather. And if you let your mind go negative on that side of it, you could just want to give up. You just want to not do anything. And I experienced that many times where I was like, I just don't even want to do anything with this. But I would stay focused and rezone and be like, well, eventually the weather will change, the sky will clear, and I'll get back out there and I'll get back at it, whatever I was working on at the time, and just continue, and everything will be fine. And that has proven true. I've succeeded in a lot of areas on this bike. So that's one thing, the environment and the weather. It's hard to do projects outdoors if you're really exposed. And I don't think I will, the older I get, it's harder to do those things, and I know that I don't think I'm going to try to do anything like that again. I don't have to. I mean, I could have put up a carport. I could have done a lot of things, but I just kind of suffered it out. I suffered it out with the majority of this and dealt with it. And I don't know why. Half the time I'm like, am I trying to prove something? And who am I trying to prove anything to? Do I have something to prove? And I don't know. I'm still trying to answer that question. What's it really all about? What am I doing? And I guess it's to prove to myself that I can do it, really. I can challenge myself and I can press through certain situations and circumstances and accomplish something. And another thing I struggled with, and I'm still struggling with, is being self-conscious about the project. I am very blessed to live where I do, and I live on a country road. It's a country back road, but there is actually a lot of traffic that drives in front of my home, and a lot more than I ever thought there would be when I moved into this area. And that's okay, you know, people live wherever. But the road is really close to my house in a way, and so there's constantly people driving by. And they can see me and they can see what I'm doing and they can see that I'm working on these really junky motorcycles out in front of my garage. And I've really struggled with the exposure of it, you know, and then my mind starts playing tricks on me that the people that are driving by are judging me. Like, oh, look at this guy. He's got some real junk he's working on. Why is he doing anything like that? How stupid. Or look at that piece of crap. Why did he drag that thing in front of his yard? And look, he's got 2 bikes that ain't worth $2 there. And you know, I can make up all these things in my own head that I think other people are thinking about what I'm doing. And my mind has a way of playing tricks on me like that, when really I guarantee you that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And people probably drive by and say, oh wow, look at that guy, he's working on something there. What is that? You know, they might just be curious. Or they might see what I'm doing and be like, wow, he's really got a challenge there. You know? So why would my mind go to feeling judgment or feeling that other people are judging me? Well, it's me. I'm judging myself. I'm simply judging myself. And it goes back to that whole concept of self-conscious, you know, and having confidence in what I'm doing. Because my mind will start to play a lot of tricks, like I'm under some kind of timetable with this. I need to get this done so that other people will see it and think that he did it, it's complete. Wow. But it's really, I don't think it's good to put yourself on some kind of timetable like that, where you think other people are expecting something of you, because you may not be able to meet those expectations. And I had to, that's a lot of things I've had to think about, like who am I trying to impress when I work on a project? Who do I need to? Nobody, you know. It's really about me and my mind and myself and whether I can do these things or not. And that's really it. It actually doesn't involve anybody else. So those are 2 things so far that, you know, have been on my mind during the process and the progress on this project. And that's just really all in my mind. And if you're working on a project and you might be thinking those things, you just have to let those things go. Let those things go and go at your own pace. Take your time with whatever it is you're doing, and don't worry about what anyone else is thinking. So I had to keep reminding myself of that, clean up until this point, that, look, this is my thing. This is what I like to do, and it's irrelevant really what anybody else thinks about it or why I chose this, you know? And it comes back around to time. Why am I spending time on this when time is very valuable? It is a valuable thing. And could my time be better spent doing other things? Well, yes, I guess it could be. But then I do spend a lot of time working, and I do spend a lot of time on other things, whether it's home maintenance or yard maintenance or anything to do with family obligations and these type of things. I spend an awful lot of time doing all that. And it is nice to have a project, I've found over the years, to hash out some of these things in your own head where you kind of need to take a break and do something productive or something that seems to be heading in a constructive direction. And that's kind of why a lot of people will take on some kind of a car or motorcycle project, is because they're trying to find a creative outlet. And that was really my idea when I bought those bikes. But it can become a point where the project is too much for a person or too difficult, and the creative outlet itself can turn negative, and they'll start to actually resent the project. And there was a period of time after hitting a few brick walls with this bike and the condition where I had a lot of doubt. I had a lot of doubt that the engine would ever run and that this was all for nothing. And I took a long break on this project because I got pretty negative about it, and I just shook my head and was like, man, this is just such a time-consuming thing, and I need to start valuing my time. And I think that's a good thing, to see that and to recognize that. And I needed to focus on other things and just take a break from the project that was supposed to provide me the creative outlet that, I could have, where I could mentally deal with just other things in life. But I didn't want to start resenting the project. But I almost got there. I almost got there with it, where I thought to myself, this just isn't going smooth enough, and I should just get rid of these things. That can really happen to you. And I felt like that at the point where the starter clutch, I knew the engine had to come back out. And I had just got the engine bolted back up in there really good, and it was a real struggle to get it in there just right. Those Goldwing engines, they're really heavy. And I felt that I just didn't want to take it out again. I was like, gosh, there's got to be another way. And I actually drilled a hole in the side of the case in an attempt to see if there was some way I could shoot some lubricant down into the backside of that alternator, and that didn't work. That did not work at all. And so I knew it had to come back out, and I had to accept it, and I had to face that. But I also knew it was going to be time consuming, physically consuming. And I was at a point where I just had enough with it. and I covered it up, and I just focused on other things, and then I almost kind of lost interest in it. And not completely. I mean, it was always on my mind. See, it was sitting there covered up, and the weather had started turning winter. And I actually started an indoor project on a classic motorcycle build. I started building a 1961 BSA road rocket from the crankshaft in bare cases up. I'm building a project inside. And that's something that is much more valuable. And I always do well when I have like several different projects going, where if I get kind of frustrated or stuck on one, I can just go to the other. And I had kind of told myself that I wasn't going to do that with this. I was just going to focus on the Goldwing till it was done. Don't take on any other projects. So I broke my rule, but I almost had to because I just couldn't do anything outside. It was just getting too difficult. So I really struggled with it physically, mentally, and I'd also had some injuries, some back injuries and a shoulder injury over the course of the winter, just from work and life and everything else. And it was really hard to get back to working on that bike. And the spring came, and the spring was I mean, not that bad. And I got caught up on a few things. I started feeling good, and I said, man, I'm just going to get back at it. I'm just got to get back at this. And so I did. And I'm really thankful that I did, because within a day, I had the starter clutch addressed, and I had that all buttoned back up, and I felt really good about that. And I had the cylinder head put back on. Still really doubtful about the condition of that cylinder. I didn't like the condition of it, but I felt okay. And there was a lot of gaskets that I really needed to replace. But it was more money to buy a bunch more little gaskets, and I wound up reusing a lot of gaskets. I reused the valve cover gaskets. I reused the water thermostat gasket. I reused some gaskets, but I cleaned everything the best I could. And I used the Permatex on those things, and that's okay. It's like I wasn't trying to rebuild a motor and do all this stuff, really. Not like I would on another project, like the BSA I'm working on. I've bought all nice gaskets and bearings and everything, and it's going to be really nice. But this, I wasn't ever intending to do that. I just wanted to get something where it's running and okay. And it's been a challenge to do that without spending too much money. And considering what it will be worth in the end. I mean, this bike, even riding down the road, titled and running good, I couldn't sell it on a good day probably for $500. But that's really not the point. I mean, it's just another one of those things that starts weighing on a person's mind when they're working on something like this. So time is important, and you want to value it, and you want to make the most of it. And if something starts taking too much of your time, like a project like that, it is good to just take a step back. That's what I would say there. And I did that, and then I got back at it. And I'm very happy with where it's sitting right now. And also addressing the doubts. There was a lot of doubt in and there still is some, but it's really gotten a lot more clear now that at least I've heard the engine run and I feel good about the motor. That was a real milestone. That was a real breakthrough. So I crossed that bridge, I crossed that threshold, and I got to hear the engine run. And that to me was very, very important. That was an important milestone because it built confidence that I am going to complete this. I'm almost there. And it felt really good to hear the engine run and to tinker with it further. And I've got it running right now about the best I can for now. I think once I finish everything else up with the newer tires and I can actually ride it, if I can ride it down the street, I think it's going to start running better and better. Because these things just need to be ridden. Motorcycles, they need to be ridden. They sit and you work out all the little bugs and kinks and leaks and all that as you go. So I'm confident in that. I'm very confident that the doubt has evaporated. And I feel really good about it at this point in time. And another thing too is as all these types of things might build up in your head, you want the project to just be finished. You just want it to be over, but you also struggle, and I vacillate back and forth, but I also want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy the process. I want to enjoy the journey. And I guess that's really why I started recording and wanting to do this, so I could look back at once it was done, where it all started. And that is going to be a really cool experience to have in the future of saying, well, look, I can show you video number one. I show myself that, and that's where it started. And, I chose this to do this because I knew it was going to be a challenge. I knew it was going to be very hard. Yeah, this is a beautiful day. So I learned patience. I learned also being content with what I'm doing, and that I'm not really trying to impress anybody or prove anything except to myself. And it's also about appreciating the project and not viewing it as something that is not worth doing or just a piece of junk. I have to look at this and be like, no, I may not be restoring this bike, but it was something that was really valuable to somebody at one point in time, and I am bringing it back to life, and it will be ridden, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I need to really, at this point in time, double down and triple down on appreciation and gratitude for that. Yes, I have other motorcycles. But what if I didn't? What if this was all that I had? Boy, I'd really appreciate it then, huh? So it's like a good reminder to appreciate the things that you have. And if it's all you have, gosh, how grateful will you be? And I can tell you, 20 years ago, I just had one bike. And I did a lot more riding. But boy, I loved that bike I had, and I really appreciated it. And now I have several bikes. I have about 5 right now. And I'm really thankful and I'm grateful for all of them. And they're all different and unique in their own ways. And I have a different relationship with each bike. But I think about it and, you know, would I be better off to just have one bike? Maybe I am. Maybe I should sell all the other bikes, and the relationship that I'm building with this Goldwing, maybe that will be it. I don't know. It's really something weird that I think about sometimes. Like, I really kind of value when I see people that just have one motorcycle, just one bike that does everything they want it to do. And they've built this unique relationship with one motorcycle. And I have had that in the past, and I kind of envy others when I see that they have that. And I think there's something special about that. So, yeah, I knew it was going to be a long video. And if you're still here, and if you've been here since the beginning, I sure appreciate you so much. And, you know, you're getting a look with all this into who I am and what's on my mind, which I guess, you know, in a way, that's what I'm trying to get across and share with other people is it's more, I guess it's more than just a motorcycle or a motorcycle project. There's just so much more behind some of these things, and I hope that anything that I've done in this entire video series, if you could take something good away from it, and then that will have been a mission accomplished, I guess. I don't know. You know, it's a trip. It's just a beautiful day. I just really love it out here. So the next steps on the Goldwing, I thought I was going to reuse the tires on it. They do kind of have okay tread, but looking at them, it's so much work to take the tires and the wheels off and put new valve stems in there. That'd be kind of foolish to break them down and sneak a valve stem in there and not replace the tire. I'm like, you know, I'm going to just probably spring on new tires if I can afford it, which may have to wait on that. I'm at least going to take them off and clean them up and get the rear brake addressed and start looking for some tires and valve stems, get them priced. And they've got these old hard wall Dunlops on there. Those are so hard to break down by hand. I've done it before on Harleys and stuff, and it's like a two-person job. So these wheels and tires, I will probably take and pay somebody with a machine to do that, because I don't think I could do it by hand. It's real difficult. So that's where I'm at with it. I need tires and also a good seat. The original seat was so trashed, I might just pad it up and temp cover it just for the sake, just for the time being, that I could sit on it and test ride it. But the big priority right now is definitely tires and the brakes and kind of tightening up little accessory things on it. There's a lot of stuff that's just kind of loose, and I've got some bolts I need to put in the radiator and the radiator fan, and just a lot of little stuff that's needs to be addressed. Maybe put the crash bars back on it, because those are really actually nice to have. That will protect the engine if you fall over. Will protect the sides of the motor. And yeah, you know, we're going to keep on with the keeping on. And in the future, I want to make much more well thought out and planned videos where once I start riding the bike on the road, I want to film it from different angles, and I want to take it places and go on camping trips and overnight trips and day trips on the bike and go visit places, scenic attractions, and do some touring. I just want to do some. I don't know how far I'll be able to go. Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to take days away, but I can sneak away for a day or two. And I think that would be really fun, you know, to have that experience on the bike, like an overnight camping trip, an adventure. That's something I really look forward to. And that's really a real great goal that I have. But we got to get the bike rideable and get it on the road and see how that goes. Plan some trips. And also, I don't know, you know, depending on how many subscribers this channel will get and how many views, I definitely look forward to the possibility of this channel becoming monetized, or the ability to do so. I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers, and then you could start generating some ad revenue for the views. And that would help. That would really help. And I'd be so thankful and blessed to have that experience. And that many people, if that many people became interested in anything that I was doing, I mean, that'd be really cool. So I hope that that can happen. And how neat would that be that maybe in an amount of time I could earn enough money off some ad revenue or something like that, where it could help with whatever I've spent on this. That would be neat. That would be really cool. I know people do it, but it was never really starting this. I would have done something like this anyway, regardless whether anybody ever views the videos or not, because I just like doing this type of stuff. And got me looking at some old pictures I had from when I was a teenager, and some of the motorcycle projects I would drag home to my parents' house, and me and my brothers would experiment and mess with stuff and work on things. Boy, with no internet and no money, and one bike we brought home was a Honda Nighthawk, and the starter didn't even work on it, and it had no Kickstarter. We cleaned the carburetors, and it didn't have a gas tank. We put some old gas tank off another bike on there with a bungee cord, and it didn't have a seat. We threw some rags on for a seat, and we push started that bike and we got it running. And I remember riding it as a teenager. It was like just such a rat bike from hell. And yeah, it was quite the experience. And the power of that bike was so exhilarating. In first gear, was like I was going faster than any bike that I had ridden yet. And up in the second gear felt scary. And, I remember having experiences like that as a teenager, 13, 14 years old. And I just have a long history with motorcycles and motorcycling and motorcycle projects. And I'm always, I guess, trying to revisit things like that, experience of having those experiences. And they do come around. They do come around where you experience something like that again in life and you think, wow, that's really cool. So maybe in a way, with something like this Goldwing, it's like I'm revisiting those things from the past. And it also caused me, with this Goldwing, to look at some pictures of some Goldwings I had about, probably 15 to 20 years ago. I had several of them, 70s models. And, that was where I first really developed a love for the Goldwings. I had one for many, many years as a daily rider. And they're just fantastic bikes. They're really, really good bikes. And a lot of people don't like them, and I think they're really missing out because there's a lot of value there if you can overlook certain things about them. These Goldwings, they're a diamond in the rough. They really are. And the earlier models, which I had, were much more stylish. They really were. I had the 1000s. I had a 76 and a 79 and a 78. And, I had wonderful memories of those bikes. I got out of them and I didn't really think I'd ever have a Goldwing again because the reasons I got out of them were because they were real heavy and I got into smaller displacement bikes, kind of gravitated towards those. But I'm starting to see the value in them, if you can deal with the heaviness of them, there's a lot of value there in what they're capable of. And I think there's ways to make them much more economical. That was a problem I always had with the ones before, was the fuel mileage seemed pretty poor. I always wanted better mileage. It's like, gosh, and now today, more than ever. But I had some ideas with this bike where I'm going to really do some hacks on it for fuel mileage. So stay tuned. We're going to show some of those things, and I believe some things that I can do, I can produce. I can get this bike to get about 60 miles to the gallon. I do believe that. But that's going to be pretty far out in some future videos. Until then, I'm going to have to settle for 35 or lucky if I get 40, It's kind of what they get, I think. Which is better than most cars, so it's still okay, but today gas $4.50 a gallon is kind of silly. You really want a bike that gets like 80 miles to the gallon, but those are small displacement bikes and very well designed. I think the Royal Enfield 450 Himalayans are getting 60 miles to the gallon, and the Royal Enfield 350 Classics are getting in the 70s. That's really, really good, really appealing. And if I was to recommend anybody get into motorcycling, I would always recommend like that brand of bike just for those reasons, the dependability, the affordability, and the fuel economy. Just outstanding what Royal Enfield has done. It's just how stuff is. And well, I think I've rambled on long enough. I don't know how long I'm in this video, like an hour. Jeez, thanks for listening to me, guys. You know, if anybody watches this video this long, I can't thank you enough. I hope there's some value in it. I hope sharing this nature scenery. This camera hasn't been too bad. But I'm going to stop it right here, and the next videos you'll see will be much more on the progress of the Goldwing. And I'll probably make some videos upcoming about the wheels being off and air filter and all that being put back on. And I'm going to paint the front fender, and I'm going to paint the trunk. I want to do that so it's all matching, and probably paint the rear fender, get it all matching with the green. So the next so many videos will probably be that and any other progress on other aspects of it, and the tires, and then the next milestone will be like a first ride video. So it's going to be a ways off. It's going to still be a ways out. But boy, that's going to be fun, isn't it? Like an actual first ride video. That's the next huge milestone and achievement. Just got to get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. And thank you so much for all your comments.